So I met Jeyleen on Instagram, and actually, I haven't met her, I met her songs. And I was very impressed. And what captured my attention was how much passion she puts into her songs. And I like when people do things with passion. And so I got interested. It was amazing music, but it was the heart I could feel in this music. And I read about her. And this is where I was surprised. I was surprised to see that she graduated from Lausanne University in Switzerland, and because she graduated with honor, she was offered immediately a job there. And she is a teacher assistant, and she's teaching finance analysis and revenue management, specifically in hospitality business. And this is where I thought, okay, so this is a full-time job. And then I see this music produced, and as career and success coach, I always get interested with this type of questions, this type of stories. And I decided to invite Jaylene and ask her a couple of questions, how she manages it all. And also, she's just 23 years old, and this is the age when you are usually not very organized. So, where she finds time and how she manages it all. And the purpose of all my interviews is to give some inspiration to my followers. So, hi, Jalen. I'm very happy that you joined me today. And my first question will be like, how do you answer to this simple question? What do you do? So, do you introduce yourself as a teacher, as a musician, or have you found a way to combine everything?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. It's really a pleasure to get a chat with you. And that's a question I'm actually still learning how to answer. Of course, my academic background and professional background, as you just explained, is within hospitality. So I say this is where my data-oriented side kind of stands from. But music has also been a very big part in my life growing up. And it's only recently that I've started really taking it more as a second profession, more a bit than just a hobby. So I usually tell people that for now I'm trying to combine both and to try to see how it works out. So I'm in a phase where both coexist. And I'm just trying to make both work, one which is very much structured and analytical, and the other one which is more for expression and art.
Excellent. That sounds very interesting. And so your passion with music started when you were very young. Like I read your bio again, it was like 8 years old. And so was there anything specific that kind of captured you at this young age? Any specific, any music, specific song, singer? And my second part of the question is, so many people, they like to sing, so many children, they like to sing, they like to paint. Like, what was the moment and how you started to act to make this real?
So I always say that I was very lucky because growing up, both of my parents were listening to very different kinds of music. My dad was much more into the jazz school, whereas my mom was into much more electronic sounds such as deep house. So growing up, my ear was already trained to listen to a variety of genres and cultural and styles and influences. But I never really studied formally music. The only thing I've done is that when I was 8 years old, I started taking vocal lessons as part of a group with a lot of kids, and that allowed me to introduce to the stage. I was able to perform at concerts from a very young age, the end of the year concert where all the parents come. And what really struck me when I was just a kid was that for a few minutes, everyone in the room was speaking the same language, the language of sound, instruments, and like emotion. Even if the lyrics you don't necessarily understand because maybe you don't speak the language, you're able to feel those emotions. And I definitely know if I remember kind of clearly that that was kind of the moment I told myself, okay, that's like one of the most beautiful phenomenons in the world. You're able to speak without really saying much words. So I think, yeah, that was one of the moments that really struck me. My first time being on stage, definitely.
Excellent, excellent. And again, back to the question that like how you started to act, because there's so many people who have dreams, yeah. And I mean, you know how many times I hear from people whom I'm coaching that I had a dream of dancing, I had a dream of painting, of singing, something related to art, and so I never got into that. And so, what would be your advice to people who have the dream, but they keep deferring it or they don't pay attention to it, never act to make it real? So, what
Yeah.
would you advise?
That's actually really funny because my first song was literally about this. It was just, it's about that version of ourselves that we keep postponing, and because of the fear that it won't work out. That was like how I started. And if I had to give a piece of advice, I think I'd say to make peace with failure because um, I like to think of life like a plant, like the beautiful roses you have on your desk next to you. You can cut the leaves, you can, I don't know, trim it back. From outside, it might seem like nothing is working out or happening. But if the roots are strong, if you've got the motivation, if you have the dedication to grow as a new person, you totally have the power to do that. I think we have one life, and if we don't take the chances that we want to take and go for the dreams that we want to go for, we're gonna regret it. I know that I would have. So that was kind of my turning point. I was like, okay, if it doesn't work out, that sucks, but maybe I could try again in the future, and at least I would have known that I would have tried.
Yeah, and that's beautiful because so many people don't do things because of fear of failure. Yeah, they just believe that it won't work out. And as again, as career coach, I always say that what if it will work out? You know, why you don't ask yourself this question, how
Yeah,
it will feel? And I mean, like what is the failure and what is win? We don't know, and
exactly.
it's all experience. Yeah, so I really it resonates what you just shared with what I always keep repeating to my coaches. And practical question. I mean, like one of the problems of modern world is lack of time. Like people always complain, I don't have time for that. I would like to do this and this and this, but I don't have time. And
Yeah.
we know that it's excuse. If you want something, you will always find time. So how do you manage your time? How do you find time for teaching and for your music and how your just one day from Jayleen's life looks like?
So it looks very organized, to be honest, because honestly, otherwise there's no other way. Most of my work days are, the typical 8 to 5, 6 p.m. where I just am in the office, giving little classes, helping students, etc. at my, main job, if we call it that way. But then as soon as the kind of I go home in the evening, I switch my mindset, my gear, and I go fully into music. And although I started treating it like a second job, it doesn't really feel like it because it kind of fuels me for a new phase of my day. It's as if, okay, now it's the time where I get to be in a completely different mindset, super creative, very different from maybe what I would be doing during the first part of my day. And for some, when I explain this, they say it sounds very overwhelming, but it's really interesting how when you have something that really you're so passionate about, it can actually recharge your batteries, even if it's at the end of the day. So for me, it was about finding that balance that works for me. Obviously, sometimes, on the weekends, I could always dedicate extra time if I feel like I'm very tired, but usually that's how I go about it.
You are a very structured person, yeah.
It took me
Yeah.
some time to get there, though.
Yeah, but you have time for everything. And this is so interesting because I always, when people come to me and ask to help them with time management, and I tell them that you need to put structure into your day because structure sets you free. And they are very surprised to hear that because they say, oh, structure limits me. I say, no, that's not true because when you have a structure, you have time for everything. So that's amazing. And also, there's a misconception about like if I choose one career path, I need to follow it. I can change, I can switch, I can do two things in parallel. So, and I know, so your main job today is teaching, but you still find a lot of time for music. And I see how it develops, and it's amazing. So, what is your view on that? Like, can you continue like that, having two paths, so, or at some stage you need to choose one path?
So I'd say, first of all, that in reality, I think it's very important for people to have a hobby or interests as
Mhm.
outside of their main profession. I think it's great when you're so focused on like your one job, but I've seen over like even people that I know around me, you can very easily burn out if you don't have any other interests in your life, let's say.
Mhm.
Now, me, it's slightly different because, I'm trying to at least get them to the same level, or at least I put as much effort into one than into the other. And I think it is possible, at least at the start, to try and manage both, maybe fully finish and be satisfied with, the professional milestones you want to reach, maybe in your very, let's say, work that's related to the office. And maybe at some point you want to switch and try out something else or just do both at the same time. For me, it's really about being balanced and finding that balance that works for you. I don't think that it's impossible to be doing both. I know people that are doing completely different stuff and it works out. So, yeah,
That's really cool. Yeah, I love painting, and I mean, I
right,
always call it a little bit more than hobby, and it's not my job, definitely.
right.
But I mean, this is something that I feel I have to do. It's that I don't like feel that I can stop doing that. Yeah, so this is
Of
something. It
course.
just needs to be part of my day because this is my stress relief. Like,
Yeah.
and this helps me with the rest of my life, and that's really resonates as well. And so you, it's not only that you sing well, but you also compose your songs. So you write both lyrics and music, and this is so rare because, like, as far as I know, some people compose music and some people write lyrics. Where do you find inspiration? I mean, like to do all this together.
So I'd say it's a compilation of various elements. Of course, first, like we have the main central themes around which my music evolves, which mostly are the passing of time, growing up, or even just like all the different cultures I've been so fortunate to encounter in my life. But then I also have like some form of synesthesia where I am deeply inspired by colors and sounds that surround us in daily life, but we don't always pay attention to. So I will really pay a close attention to my environment and I'll try to bring those sounds and colors into my tracks as much as possible because I really believe that music can basically be found anywhere. And yeah, I like combining different sensory elements together because that really captures the moment the song first like started in my head. And I think it's really important for me to compose at the start, at least my own music, because that's how I create my own universe, my sonic sound that's true to myself. So that's why I started doing it. And yeah, so far the inspiration comes from a bit everywhere in between.
Interesting. And I'll just share this with you that I have this specific way of thinking or listening to music. When I listen to music, uh, each song has a color for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, and color, when I was listening to your songs, I had a lot of all shades of blue, dark
right.
blue, very light blue, like sky blue, baby blue, all the shades of blue. I don't know why, but I mean, like I had this blue color, and blue not in the meaning of they are sad, but blue in the meaning or literally all the color. So I don't know what it means. I
That's
just wanted to
amazing.
share that.
That's so cool. Actually, one of the songs is definitely different shades of blue. It's so interesting. Did you say that actually? I think you also have synesthesia then.
I think I expressed this not in music, but in art, yeah, in painting. And Also, when I was preparing to have a conversation, I was reading about you on your social media, and something that really I liked this sentence, how it sounds. It was about like beauty. often hides within turbulence. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful phrase, but I would like to ask you, do you have any real example when you know a turbulent moment it gave you the idea of beautiful mu music, became a beautiful music?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually my latest song, Sold My Soul, it's called. And it all came from like the spark of how the song was created. It was actually a glass falling on my floor, like a
Oh,
vase, a glass vase that just shattered on my floor in my living room into a million pieces. And what could have been seen as like, some chaos happening for other people, I actually it felt very expressive to me. And the dissonance, the randomness of the sound, and
mhm.
just like the breakage itself, to me, it really mirrored how emotions sometimes accumulate and just like, spread all over the place. Because, our most intense feelings don't always come so clean and nice and perfect. They're usually kind of messy, chaotic, and unresolved. So that's kind of what I mean with this sentence
Yeah,
is that in my music, I like to lean into that discomfort. I like to being drawn to something that doesn't sound perfect because I mean, in life, you have honesty usually comes from those moments where everything wasn't necessarily on track. And yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of my example of how I would describe the sentence.
Excellent, excellent. And last question, finally. Like, I'm sure that when my followers will watch our interview, they will be very much interested to listen to your songs. What is the best way where they can find your songs? Are they on YouTube, on Instagram? So, what's the best way to get to them?
So actually on all social media platforms, I go by Jeyleen Music. Pretty
Uh-huh.
simple. Jeyleen spelled like
And this
Jeyleen.
is your real name. This is
That
not
is my
like your
real
artistic.
name.
This is your
That's
real.
a
Yeah.
yeah, that's a question that comes back a lot. This is actually my real name, and it's on all streaming platforms, also on YouTube. So yeah, I mean it's usually pretty easy to find, and I'd be so happy if yeah, your followers would have a listen and connect. That would be amazing.
Excellent. I'm your fan, and I
Thank
will
you
be a
so
big
much.
promoter of your, what you create, this beauty that you create. Thank you so much, and I hope that we will continue our conversation one day when things evolve even more, and you'll tell us about your new success stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leila. Thank you.